Welcome to Pulse, today's hotel, restaurant, and bar industry news. A deep dive from HRBUniversal, navigating your industry. With insights from leaders.
The hospitality industry in 2026 is fighting a three-front war: a collapsing food safety net, wildly shifting consumer flavor demands, and a frantic race for AI-driven operational survival.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Pulse, today's hotel, restaurant, and bar industry news deep dive, brought to you by HRBUniversal. We are delivering the critical updates, trend analyses, and operational intelligence you need to stay ahead in hospitality.
It is so great to be here breaking this down.
Yeah, and today we have a very specific mission for this deep dive, and it is entirely focused on you. I mean, you, the operator, the executive, the GM, who is out there fighting for margin in the trenches every single day.
Right, because it's a bloodbath out there right now.
It really is. Like, if you take the live FDA outbreak tracing data and put it right next to the 2026 State of the Restaurant Industry Report, and then overlay that with the latest capital movement metrics from Level CFO and Consumer Edge, this incredibly polarized picture emerges.
Yeah, totally polarized.
But, there's this very clear, albeit super narrow, path where smart operators are actually finding genuine, sustainable growth right now. And our goal today is to map that out for you.
Exactly. We really want to explore that direct causality between the technology that's humming quietly in your back of house and these deeply biological shifts happening in your guests' palates.
Right.
And, of course, the macroeconomic forces that are just completely rewriting the rules of the supply chain. Because, honestly, it's the only way to look at the industry right now.
We can't keep siloing these things.
No, we cannot treat the kitchen, the dining room, and the global economy as separate silos. They are one single, highly sensitive ecosystem. I mean, if a logistics bottleneck happens in the Middle East, it eventually impacts how, a line cook logs the temperature in Ohio.
Wow, yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So to protect the bottom line, we really have to look past the raw statistics, break down the actual mechanics of why these shifts are happening, and then translate those mechanics into aggressive operational strategy for you.
So let's just dive right into it. Let's start with what is arguably the most visceral threat to any hospitality brand today, which is the fundamental breakdown of the agricultural safety net.
Oh, man.
Because we are watching this unprecedented surge in foodborne illness outbreaks at the exact moment the regulatory framework meant to catch them it's being paused.
It's terrifying.
Just look at the live data we have right now. There's this massive Cyclospora outbreak linked to Taylor Farms de Mexico iceberg lettuce. And this hit Taco Bell and a bunch of retail channels incredibly hard.
Really hard.
The CDC is currently reporting 9,481 illnesses across 17 states, 398 hospitalizations, and tragically 2 deaths in Michigan. But what strikes me when I look at these epidemiology reports? It's not just the sheer scale of it, though that is massive. It's how incredibly difficult it was to trace. The lag time is insane.
Right. Well, the tracing process for a vegetative commodity like iceberg lettuce is just a forensic nightmare.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when an outbreak of this scale happens, the FDA can sometimes pinpoint a major distributor, like in this case, tracing the lettuce served at Taco Bell back to that specific Mexican supplier.
Right.
But the CDC has to broaden the net, because it isn't just one brand affected. It's literally anyone who consumed that contaminated crop across various retail and food service channels.
Wait, so how do they even track that down?
Honestly, when public health investigators conduct their ingredient-level analysis, they're essentially working backward through human memory.
Oh, wow. That sounds awful.
It is. They interview patients, and in this specific outbreak, 90% of them remembered eating iceberg lettuce. But think about the timeline here. By the time a patient actually feels sick, goes to a hospital, gets a confirmed diagnosis, and then gets interviewed by a health department official, weeks have passed.
The food is long gone.
Exactly. The food has long been consumed or thrown away. There is zero physical evidence left in your restaurant walk-in. The entire investigation has to rely on the traceback records provided by the operators and distributors.
Which is absolutely terrifying when you consider this isn't some isolated incident, right? While the industry is reeling from the Cyclospora, we have 2 completely distinct salmonella outbreaks running simultaneously.
Yeah, the data is alarming.
Right. There's a cluster of 345 cases tied to jalapeno peppers from Sinaloa, Mexico. And that one swept right through major players like Chipotle and QDOBA, hitting 27 states with 36 hospitalizations.
And the correlation on that one was huge.
Yeah, the data shows a 93% correlation of victims reporting they ate at a Mexican-style restaurant before getting sick. And then completely separate from that pepper issue, there are 98 cases of salmonella linked to Midwest Poultry Services shell eggs across 17 states.
Just compounding the problem.
Exactly. So we have major, highly resourced chains, companies with massive quality assurance departments, getting caught in the crossfire of agricultural contamination. If a multi-billion-dollar brand can't stop a contaminated pepper from reaching the prep table, what chance does, like, a regional group or an independent operator have?
And that right there is the core vulnerability. The U.S. food safety infrastructure is fundamentally strained. I mean, agencies like the FDA and the USDA, along with the CDC's tracking networks, they're basically operating a patchwork system designed for a much simpler, more localized era of food production.
Yeah, it feels very analog.
It really is. Let's look at how the CDC's PulseNet actually works. So it's a national laboratory network that compares the DNA fingerprints of bacteria from patients.
Okay.
So if a patient in Ohio and a patient in Texas both get sick, PulseNet sequences the pathogen's genome to see if they match. If they do, boom, it signals a multi-state outbreak. And then FoodNet tracks the demographic trends of that illness.
Sounds high-tech so far.
It does. But here is the critical flaw. Identifying that two people have the exact same strain of salmonella doesn't tell you what they ate or where it came from.
Right. It just tells you they have the same bug.
Exactly. To figure out the source, investigators need a rapid, highly detailed paper trail showing exactly where every ingredient in a specific meal originated. And right now, in most operations, that process takes weeks instead of hours.
And this is where the massive legislative shocker comes in.
Yeah.
Because we have this glaring vulnerability. And the FDA actually had a theoretical silver bullet ready to go, which was the FSMA 204 food traceability rule.
Right. Everyone was bracing for that.
Yeah. For those keeping track, this was the mandate that would require companies to digitally trace critical tracking events, or CTEs, using key data elements within 24 hours. So if there's an outbreak, the government could basically hit a button and instantly see the entire supply chain of that jalapeno.
That was the dream.
Right. And it was scheduled to be enforced in January 2026. But Congress just officially delayed enforcement until July 2028. They literally just hit the pause button.
Which is wild. The government essentially admitted that the industry is just not technologically prepared to comply, so they granted a 2.5-year reprieve.
But, like, operators really need to understand the profound danger of treating this delay as a free pass.
Absolutely.
Because the way I look at this delay, it's like driving without a seatbelt just because the Highway Patrol announced they are pausing ticket writing for 2 years.
That's a great analogy.
Right. Sure, you save a few bucks on compliance costs today and the government won't slap you with a fine. But when the crash happens, the physics of the accident do not care about the police union's memo. The crash will still kill you.
Yep, the damage is done.
If you serve contaminated food in 2026, the consumer market isn't going to look at the congressional calendar and say, oh, you know, it's okay, FSMA 204 isn't enforced yet, so we forgive you for hospitalizing our family.
Ever.
A single recall tied to your brand will permanently destroy your valuation.
What's fascinating here is that the public market is just entirely unforgiving. And if we are being completely honest about the operational reality inside most restaurant kitchens today, they are entirely exposed.
Oh, completely bare.
Because many operators still rely on manual, paper-based processes for compliance. I mean, picture a Friday night dinner rush. The kitchen is totally in the weeds, ticket times are climbing, and a line cook is supposed to stop everything and log the temperature of the walk-in and the lowboy coolers.
We all know what actually happens there.
Exactly. What actually happens is they either guess the temperature and scribble it down, or they engage in what we call dry labbing.
Dry labbing, I love that term.
Yeah, it's where they wait until the end of the shift and just fill out a whole sheet of fictional compliant numbers all at once just to satisfy the manager.
I have seen it 1,000 times. You walk in and there's a clipboard with a grid of perfectly identical 40-degree entries, all written in the exact same blue pen, all the way down the page.
Exactly. And that creates massive data inaccuracies. It means if a compressor on a walk-in starts failing at, say, 00 p.m. and the ambient temperature creeps up to 48 degrees for 3 hours before dropping back down, that paper log will never show it.
It's invisible.
Right. So the chicken stored in that cooler just absorbed 3 hours of rapid bacterial growth. The next day, it gets served to a guest. You're entirely blind to equipment failures and localized spoilage.
So, okay, the infrastructure of the government is failing, and the manual paper infrastructure of the kitchen is failing. What is the immediate, non-negotiable step the operator listening to this right now needs to take? Because sitting on our hands until July 2028 sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy.
The immediate step is an aggressive transition to IoT, the Internet of Things, and fully connected back-of-house ecosystems. It is no longer a luxury. It is baseline operational survival.
So taking the human element out of it.
Completely.
Yeah.
You must remove human memory and human error from your compliance tracking. This means implementing continuous automated temperature and hygiene monitoring.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, systems like Stratify, for example, they deploy ambient IoT sensors inside every cooling unit. They ping the temperature to a cloud dashboard every few minutes. So if a door is left cracked open by accident and the temperature rises, the system doesn't wait for a cook with a clipboard. It sends a predictive, automated alert directly to the GM's phone before the food ever enters the danger zone.
Okay, so you are catching the failure before it ruins the inventory inside your four walls. But what about the external supply chain? How do you protect yourself from, like, the Taylor Farms lettuce or those Sinaloa peppers before they even reach the building?
You do it by utilizing digital inventory engines that integrate directly with national recall databases. So instead of waiting for an email from your supplier a week after the fact, advanced inventory software scrapes supplier API data in real time.
Oh, wow. So it's proactive.
Exactly. When your morning delivery truck arrives, the system has already flagged the lot codes of the incoming produce against live FDA watch lists. If an anomaly or a recall is detected, the system alerts the receiving manager to literally reject the product at the loading dock.
That is incredible.
By fully digitizing your back-of-house compliance, you are building a proactive barrier around your operations. You are insulating your specific brand from the systemic failures of the broader agricultural network.
Because you are taking total control of the variables inside your four walls. You can't control the FDA, right?
Right.
And you can't control Mexican agriculture, but you can absolutely control whether a piece of data or a contaminated pepper enters your ecosystem.
Exactly right.
Okay, but let's look at the causality here. Building that back-of-house digital fortress, getting those IoT sensors, and that API scraping software that requires capital, it requires serious investment.
It does. It's not free.
And the only way an operator funds that is by aggressively driving top-line revenue and winning market share in the front of house. So how do you actively attract the consumer right now when food costs are soaring, inflation fatigue is incredibly real, and wallets are super tight?
You do it by deeply understanding the profound biological and sensory shifts happening in your consumer base, and then reconciling those shifts against a very strict economic reality.
Which is not easy.
No, it's tough. The Consumer Edge Restaurant Outlook for 2026 shows a highly polarized dining public pulling operators in two completely opposite directions simultaneously.
Let's break down those shifting demands, because this is fascinating. The 2026 State of the Restaurant Industry Report highlights what they are calling the protein and satiety pivot.
Yes, this is massive.
Currently, 70% of consumers demand elevated protein content when dining out, and that is a huge jump from 59% just a few years ago.
It's a staggering shift.
And what's wild is the mechanism driving this isn't just some generic fitness trend, right? It is deeply biological. It is being driven by the explosive adoption of GLP-1 weight management therapies.
Exactly. Ozempic, Wegovy, all of them.
Millions of consumers are taking medications that literally delay gastric emptying and alter how their brain signals fullness. They are not going to a restaurant looking to gorge on a massive 2,000-calorie plate of refined carbohydrates anymore.
They physically cannot eat it.
Right. And they don't crave it. They want what the report calls functional satiety. They want dense, high-quality nourishment that makes them feel full and energized without the caloric bulk.
And the operational impact of that biological shift is massive. I mean, culinary directors and category managers are being forced to completely re-engineer core menu offerings.
Right, because protein is expensive.
Exactly. How do you offer premium protein fortification that satisfies a GLP-1 user without absolutely destroying your prime costs? Whole muscle meats like a massive steak or a large chicken breast are incredibly expensive. So the challenge becomes delivering that feeling of fullness through much smarter ingredient architecture.
But wait, it gets infinitely more complicated. Because while these consumers want healthy, satiating protein, they also want to be absolutely blown away by the flavor. Like, they are not looking for bland boiled chicken.
No, not at all.
We are seeing this massive wave of sensory adventurism, and it's heavily divided by generation. Look at the Data Central metrics. Gen Z and millennials are 5 times more likely to demand sour, fermented, and spicy. That sweet and spicy combination flavor profiles compared to baby boomers.
Spicy is everywhere right now.
It is. Look at mango habanero. Its penetration on menus has surged 129% over the last 4 years. Black currant was just named the 2026 flavor of the year. Consumers are hunting for aggressive, complex profiles like zero-proof botanical elixirs, fermented glazes, global mashups.
Which creates a tremendous operational tension for the kitchen.
Oh, I bet.
Consider what it takes to actually execute those flavors. Creating a complex fermented craft glaze or a multi-layered botanical elixir is highly labor-intensive. It requires specialized prep, higher prep times, and much more skilled labor on the line.
Right.
So consumers want high-quality fortified proteins, and they want highly complex, labor-intensive sensory experiences.
Yeah.
Yet, and here is the brutal economic reality, the consumer edge data shows that despite demanding these premium elements, the consumer is actively trading down.
That is the ultimate contradiction.
They're exhausted by inflation. They want premium value.
And the data proves it, right? The brands currently winning the market share war aren't the hyper-expensive experimental concepts. It's brands like Chili's, Texas Roadhouse, and a newly revitalized Red Lobster, which bounce back purely by introducing consistent, aggressive value combos.
Exactly. Middle-income consumers are flocking to these sit-down, reliable chains because the perceived value justifies the spend.
And I mean, even convenience store operators are watching this. They're trying to figure out how to grab that functional satiety market, but most of the C-store space is just fluff right now. They're so bogged down trying to reshape their labor models to look attractive to workers as minimum wages rise. They really haven't fully cracked the premium culinary code yet.
No, they're distracted by labor right now.
Right. But back to restaurants. How on earth does an independent operator, or even a mid-size group, afford to offer premium fortified proteins and labor-intensive, spicy fermented reductions while simultaneously competing on price with the sheer buying power of a Texas Roadhouse? I mean, it feels mathematically impossible.
It feels impossible if you are operating on a traditional restaurant model. But the Strategic Trend Report outlines exactly how the winners are doing it. They call it the high-tech, high-touch balancing act.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, when an operator is faced with shrinking margins, the natural panic-driven instinct is to cut costs in the front of house. They shrink the portion size, they swap a high-quality protein for a cheaper filler, or they strip away the complex adventurous flavors because the prep takes too long.
Sure, penny pinching on the plate.
Right. But when an operator does this, they fall directly into what is known as the rationalization trap.
The rationalization trap. Okay, I need a concrete example of this because I feel like I see operators do this all the time without realizing the damage they are causing.
Oh, they do it constantly. Let's use a real-world scenario. Imagine a mid-tier casual dining brand known for a premium, hand-breaded chicken tender meal.
Okay, classic staple.
Food costs spike. The CFO looks at the spreadsheet and says, look, if we shrink the size of each chicken tender by just 1 ounce and we stop using our house-made spicy glaze and switch to a cheaper pre-bottled sauce, we save 8 cents per plate. The customer won't even notice.
Oh, no.
They rationalize the degradation of the product. But the customer does notice. They might not literally weigh the chicken, but subconsciously, the plate feels lighter, the flavor feels flatter, the perceived value plummets.
Right, the experience is ruined.
Exactly. And within a quarter, that brand sees a 15% drop in foot traffic. By trying to save 8 cents a plate, they destroyed their pricing power and alienated their core demographic.
They ruined the art to save the spreadsheet. That is brutal. So how do you avoid that? How do you actually fund the premium experience without going broke?
By recognizing that the traditional boundaries between culinary art, retail operations, and software architecture just no longer exist.
It's all one thing now.
Yes, the only way to survive is to make the back of house ruthlessly mechanically efficient, so that the savings generated by that efficiency can financially subsidize the human sensory experience in the front of house.
The efficiency of the machine pays for the art of the chef. I love that phrasing. So give me the actionable playbook. How does a culinary director actually engineer this today?
On the culinary side, you design for multi-textural functional satiety. You stop relying purely on massive, expensive cuts of whole muscle meat. Instead, you create combinations.
What?
You use a smaller portion of high-quality protein, but you pair it with dense, fiber-rich elements and soft, high-intensity flavor centers, like a whipped, fermented feta surrounded by fortified, crunchy outer coatings.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Right. You deliver the physical sensation of fullness and the explosive flavor the GLP-1 demographic craves, but at a heavily reduced plate cost. Second, you lean heavily into the sour and spicy profiles for Gen Z. Fermentation and aggressive spice profiles are actually excellent low-cost ways to elevate relatively inexpensive base ingredients.
But, like we said, to afford the labor to prep those complex flavors, you have to find the money somewhere else in the building.
Exactly. And you protect those prime costs by utilizing advanced point-of-sale and inventory automation. You have to eliminate invisible waste.
Right. The leaks in the bucket.
Yes. Platforms like Craftbulls Crafty combine real-time POS transaction data with automated supplier invoice scraping. If you are running a bar, industry averages show you are losing roughly 4% to 5% of your liquor inventory to overpouring, spillage, or unwrung drinks.
Which is a massive hit to the bottom line.
Huge. And in the kitchen, you are losing margin to unlogged spoilage. Advanced automation flags these discrepancies the moment they happen. If you can recover that 4% of lost margin, you take those exact dollars and reinvest them directly into your menu innovation and your value pricing.
Wow.
You automate the back of the house so you can afford to deeply humanize the front of the house.
Which brings us to a massive realization. If achieving that ruthless BOH efficiency is the only way to survive, then we need to look at how the entire industry's infrastructure is pivoting to support it.
All connected.
The capital markets, the global supply chains, and the physical buildings themselves are all shifting. So let's look at the operational strategy landscape, starting with the money, because capital allocation tells you exactly what the smartest people in the room believe is going to happen.
Oh, well, the money.
Always.
Yeah.
In the first half of 2026, the overall transaction volume across hospitality and retail M&A, meaning the actual number of deals taking place, dropped by 7.6%. People are buying fewer companies.
Right.
However, the total deal value of the acquisitions that did happen surged by an astonishing 106%, hitting nearly $40 billion. We are seeing massive concentrated moves.
Big players are making big bets.
Huge. Dave's Hot Chicken just secured a $1 billion valuation from Rourke Capital. Topgolf sold a majority stake for $770 million to Leonard Green. Denny's was taken private in a $620 million deal.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that concentration of capital is the ultimate validation of everything we just discussed. Institutional private equity investors are entirely abandoning small, speculative, multi-unit concepts.
They don't want risky trends.
No, they are no longer interested in placing 100 small bets on trendy menus. Capital is flowing like a river directly toward established platforms that can prove three things: strong rate integrity, proprietary distribution networks, and most importantly, highly scalable, unified technology backbones.
Because they want systems, not just recipes.
Exactly. When Rourke Capital looks at a brand, they aren't just buying the chicken recipe. They are buying an operating system that has already solved the data integrity equation. They want an asset that can seamlessly plug into an AI-driven future without needing a massive technological overhaul.
And while the private equity markets are consolidating the software and the brands, the physical supply chain is being completely warped by massive geopolitical forces.
It's been a crazy year for logistics.
And, you know, we always want to be very clear with you listening. This deep dive takes absolutely no political stance whatsoever. Our mandate here is purely to analyze the economic and supply chain impacts of global events based strictly on the sources provided.
Right, just looking at the operational fact.
Exactly. And the reality of 2026 is that the U.S.-Iran war and the subsequent closure of the Strait of Hormuz sent an absolute shockwave through the global economy.
It changed everything overnight.
The strait handles roughly 20% of global oil and liquefied natural gas. When it closed, we saw massive, immediate spikes in energy, freight, and marine insurance costs across North America, EMEA, and APAC.
The freight costs alone were devastating.
Now, a provisional ceasefire was electronically signed in mid-June to reopen the strait, which is great news, but the economic whiplash is going to take months, if not years, to fully unwind.
And those geopolitical shocks, combined with the ongoing high tariff environments we're seeing, have wildly accelerated a movement that was already happening in the industrial sector, which is reshoring.
Bringing the manufacturing back home.
Exactly. Approximately 69% of mid-market manufacturers are actively bringing their supply chains and production facilities back to North America. And as they rebuild these factories onshore, they aren't building them the way they did in 1990.
They're upgrading.
Big time. They're adopting Industry 4.0. They're building smart factories with digital twins, advanced robotics, and fully integrated IoT networks.
Okay, but how does that impact a restaurant operator?
Well, when a massive manufacturer upgrades to a fully connected smart facility, they have to rip out their older legacy equipment. This equipment is often incredibly high quality, robust, and built to last a century, but it simply lacks the microchips to connect to the new cloud network.
Ah, I see.
This dynamic has created a historic, massive secondary market of industrial surplus equipment, which is being tracked and liquidated by firms like Liquidity Services.
Wait, hold on. Let me stop you right there because I see where this is going based on the Liquidity Services report, and it sounds kind of insane.
Hear me out.
You were talking about manufacturers liquidating things like industrial stamping presses, batch chemical mixing tanks, and massive CNC lines. Like, these are machines used to build car parts and process industrial chemicals. Are you seriously suggesting that a hospitality operator is going to buy a metal stamping press and put it in a commercial kitchen? How does that even pass a basic health inspection?
I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually one of the most brilliant asymmetric capital allocation strategies happening in the commissary space right now. Obviously, you don't use a machine that still has machine oil on it.
Okay, good. Just checking.
But think about what a massive multi-unit restaurant group or a ghost kitchen operator actually needs. They need to produce hundreds of gallons of soup, or stamp out thousands of perfectly uniform dough shells, or mix massive quantities of dry rub.
Right.
Buying brand new purpose-built food processing equipment right now means dealing with massive supply chain back orders and incredibly inflated prices. Smart operators are going to liquidators and buying a surplus industrial batch tank for pennies on the dollar.
And then what? Just wash it out.
No, they bring it in, strip it down, retrofit it with FDA-approved food-grade stainless steel liners, switch out the mechanical lubricants for food-safe equivalents, and suddenly they have a heavy-duty industrial-scale production line up and running in a fraction of the time and for a fraction of the cost of buying new.
That is wild.
It is a pure speed and availability play that completely bypasses the traditional restaurant equipment bottlenecks.
Okay, when you explain the retrofitting, it actually makes a ton of sense. It is basically industrial hacking for the culinary world.
Exactly.
But this all circles back to technology. Whether you are running a retrofitted commissary or a high-end dining room, everyone wants to talk about artificial intelligence right now. It is the ultimate buzzword.
Oh, you can't escape it.
A recent executive survey showed that 87% of leaders confidently claim they are AI ready. Yet in that exact same survey, 42% admit their technology infrastructure is a major hurdle.
I call that the confidence reality gap. Every executive wants the magic of AI to instantly optimize their labor and lower their food costs. But very few have actually done the unglamorous plumbing required to make it work. We really have to define the critical difference between data quality and data integrity.
Break that down for us.
Data quality is simply a foundational diagnostic. It basically asks, is the data in this one specific spreadsheet spelled correctly? Does it look right in isolation?
Okay.
Data integrity is completely different. Think of data integrity like the plumbing in a massive hotel. Data quality just means the water sitting in the sink is clean. Data integrity means ensuring that the clean water pipes aren't crossing into the raw sewage lines behind the walls before the water even reaches the tap.
Ooh, but great analogy.
Data integrity is the holistic accuracy, consistency, and contextual truth of your data across the entire enterprise, managed through strict governance.
Right, so if your point of sale data says you sold 50 steaks tonight, but your inventory depletion software only shows 20 steaks leaving the walk-in, and your labor scheduling app shows you had 0 grill cooks on the clock, your pipes are crossed.
Exactly. You absolutely cannot deploy enterprise AI without data integrity. If you feed that highly conflicted garbage data into a machine learning algorithm, the AI isn't going to magically fix your restaurant.
Yeah.
It is just going to help you make mathematically confident, terrible decisions at light speed.
Garbage in, garbage out, just faster than humanly possible. And when we look at the level CFO benchmarks for 2026, they make the financial stakes of this very clear. Prime cost, which is your total food cost combined with your total labor cost, is the absolute only margin metric that matters at the line level.
The only one.
If your data lacks the integrity to track your prime costs in real time, you are essentially flying a commercial airliner totally blind. Now, let's add one final massive physical variable to this operational matrix, which is the weather. Colorado State University released their forecast predicting a below normal hurricane season for 2026. They're projecting 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major ones.
And that forecast introduces a massive behavioral risk for operators.
How so?
When operators hear below normal, the psychological response is to relax. They cut their disaster prep budgets to save a little cash because things are tight. But as we saw with recent storms like Helene and Milton, below normal frequency does not mean low impact.
Not at all.
Those storms caused over $113 billion in damages and peak power outages for 9.5 million people. In hospitality, if your power grid fails, the financial devastation is immediate.
You lose everything in the coolers.
Exactly. Restocking a single commercial walk-in refrigerator easily costs thousands of dollars. Flooding can cost tens of thousands in structural remediation. You cannot operate a highly sophisticated AI-ready tech backbone if the literal electrical backbone of your physical building is vulnerable to a Category 2 storm.
So let's synthesize this entire deep dive into an executive playbook. We have institutional capital demanding tech-enabled margins, global supply chains shifting into the surplus market, a massive gap in AI readiness, and highly volatile physical threats. What are the 3 non-negotiable operational pillars a leader must execute tomorrow morning?
First pillar, micro-labor optimization. You must immediately stop scheduling your staff in hourly blocks.
Really? Hourly blocks are the standard.
Not anymore. According to the Level CFO data, adjusting your labor to match the actual minute-by-minute demand curves of your guests reduces labor costs by 5% to 10% without cutting a single employee shift.
Wow.
You achieve this by using 15-minute interval scheduling. A Monday lunch rush is a completely different business model than a Friday dinner service. They just happen to share the same roof. You must track your revenue per labor hour, or RPLH, by day part, and schedule in 15-minute microbursts to eliminate all that standing around time.
Second pillar, tech procurement and the surplus wave. Like you said earlier, stop waiting 6 months for expensive, back-ordered, brand-new prep equipment. Capitalize on the industrial reshoring trend. Go to the liquidators. Find the high-quality, robust, legacy equipment that manufacturers are discarding, retrofit it for food safety, and build out your large-scale prep and commissary kitchens at a massive discount.
Absolutely. And the third pillar is total physical resilience and disaster prep. You must harden the facility right now. Do not wait for the meteorologist to name a storm.
Right.
If you rely on standby generators, go outside today, ensure there are 3 feet of clear space around them for ventilation, and run the maintenance checks. And if you are operating a smaller footprint like a cafe or a catering staging area in an apartment or condo building, invest in heavy-duty portable power stations like the Generac GB2000.
Because you can't run a gas generator indoors.
Exactly. Ensure you calculate the wattage correctly. It must have the capacity to run a 120-watt commercial fridge for hours to save your high-value inventory. And train your staff strictly on the FDA disaster rules. An unpowered refrigerator is only safe for 4 hours. A full closed freezer is safe for 48 hours. Protect your prime costs by physically protecting your assets.
That is the multi-domain resilience required to survive and thrive in 2026. You're optimizing your labor down to the 15-minute mark, you're creatively hacking the industrial surplus market to build out your commissaries, and you are actively hardening your physical power grids to protect your inventory.
And this leads to one final, really critical realization for the future. As operators master this level of data integrity and physical resilience, they have to prepare for the immediate next phase of technology.
What's next?
Right now, we are talking about AI that analyzes your data and recommends a better labor schedule or suggests a tighter inventory order. But we are moving rapidly toward agentic AI.
Agentic AI?
Yes. These are autonomous, highly intelligent software agents that won't just make recommendations, they will take action. In the very near future, your agentic AI will notice a spike in local event traffic, independently negotiate a spot price contract with your produce supplier, execute the purchase, and instantly hire 3-gig economy prep cooks to handle the volume, all in real time, completely without human oversight.
Oh, wow.
So if your data plumbing isn't perfectly clean right now, you aren't just getting bad advice on a dashboard. You are handing the actual keys of your business and your corporate checkbook to a machine running on fundamentally corrupt logic.
That is a chilling but absolutely necessary reality check. If the data foundations are crumbling, you simply cannot let the machine drive the car. Well, that wraps up today's edition of Pulse. Before you get back to your floor or executive suite, make sure to check out the other powerful shows in the HRBUniversal network. Kitchen to C-Suite, your definitive roadmap for advancing hospitality careers from entry-level up to executive leadership. Mise en Place, culture-first leadership and organizational strategies focused on safety, compliance, and building top-tier workplace culture. The Recipe for Results podcast, extra fast, high-impact extras packed with operational tactics and actionable solutions. 86ing the bad habits, cutting out systemic operational flaws, bad leadership habits, and inefficient practices across hotels, bars, and restaurants.
Such a great lineup.
This podcast is supported by the generous commitment of our sponsors, and we extend a special thank you to HRBUniversal. Their dedication to providing comprehensive resources and promoting excellence is key to empowering professionals across the culinary and hospitality industries. We also want to acknowledge the Plate and Pour Collective Equity Partner Program. This initiative exemplifies a true commitment to fostering shared success and equitable growth within the food and beverage sector, helping entrepreneurs build a more inclusive and thriving future. The journey to the C-suite is fueled by innovation, relentless dedication, and the right network. We encourage you to engage with the resources and support offered by our sponsors. For details on how to connect with HRBUniversal and the Plate and Pour Collective Equity Partner Program, visit hrbuni.com or search HRBUniversal online. We look forward to having you join us for our next episode, where we will continue to explore captivating topics designed to elevate your career and entrepreneurial drive.
We really do.
Stay ahead with Pulse Time. Today's hotel, restaurant, and bar industry news deep dive brought to you by HRBUniversal. Don't miss a beat. Whether you're commuting to work or unwinding on the couch, we've got your industry insights covered. On the go. Subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, Deezer, or visit hrbuni.com mobile app. Take the HRB network with you everywhere by getting our mobile web app at hrbuni.com apac.com/EP. Big screen experience. Level up your show viewing / stream Pulse directly on TV via Roku or Amazon Fire TV. Until next time, keep innovating and striding for excellence.